Figured I'd do a quick update video while I water the garden. I did a couple update videos before, but I never really got around to posting them. About a month ago, we got hit with a hailstorm, and while a good bit of the garden was able to be covered in time, some of it was just too big to cover, and we had a significant amount of damage, but we bounced back from that quite really surprisingly, honestly. It really bounced back. I mean, I thought we weren't going to get squash or tomatoes, and yeah, now those plants are doing amazing. But anyway, that first box that I was watering is garlic. These are purple-leaved blueberries. I can talk. These over here are just regular old blueberry bushes, and you see there's 4 in each one of these boxes. On the blueberries, anyway. Trying to make sure everything gets super good and watered. My garden seems to do better with heavy watering at night versus first thing early in the morning. And the last week has been really hot, like up in the 90s. So I'm trying to make sure everything is good and quenched. These are our golden raspberries that Mark got. They were runners that he went and got from his grandma's house. And they're all doing quite well. There's like something like 5 or 7 plants all in here, but they're all doing really good. That's the garden from a distance, obviously. And we got my Narnia light working. My random little street lamp thing that's in my backyard. Mark got it working for me. I know I have a lot of things that have gone to seed. The arugula right here. The mustard greens right behind it. There's more arugula behind the mustard greens, but I'm okay with it because I'm hoping some of the seed will take over these bare spots in the yard. Maybe, hopefully, possibly. But these tomatoes right here that I'm watering at the moment, well, that's basil, and so is that. These are yellow cherry tomatoes, or yellow pear tomatoes, excuse me. And they're everywhere. There's a ton in here. Down here I got some little Romas that are going, chugging along. And it looks like part of my yellow pear tomato kind of fell over. So we're just gonna tuck that right back in here. And maybe it'll stay put. And then I got some flowers starting on the basil, so those need to be pulled, because I do not want the basil to flower. Otherwise it goes bitter. These long like pods that develop at the end of the basil, if you pinch those off, your basil will just keep spreading out and getting really big and bushy and beautiful. But they eventually start turning into little white flowers. And once those turn flowery, your basil will go woody, like, pretty quickly. It's still edible that way, but I have sweet basil here. Once it goes woody, it's not really sweet anymore. You can see all those pear tomatoes in there. They're everywhere. These are mustard greens. That's more arugula over there. I'm continuing to water them because, like I said, I want them to seed. And I want the seed to spread. And there's all kinds of weeds in this keyhole. Probably gonna have Mark come out here and handle those for me this weekend. Yep, just gonna get everybody a nice big drink. There's like a ton, I don't know if you guys can see them, but a ton of these little yellow pear tomatoes. There's some new ones starting over there. There's some under there. There's some up there. I mean, they're everywhere. There's a bunch down in there. And then we got carrots right here. Lots and lots of carrots. I actually have carrots growing in several places. I have some here. I have some right next to the arugula. I have some in there. I have some over in the other bed. Yep, so there's those. These are some little baby cabbages. There's 3 of them here that I happened to find at Ace Hardware that were little starter plants they were trying to get rid of. And I know a lot of people say that you really shouldn't start cabbage indoors. You should just direct sow it, that they don't survive well as transplants. Every single one of my cabbages I started from seed inside, and they were all transplants. And you can see how big those got in just a minute once I get these beets good and watered. And like I said, there's a couple more carrots in through here. These are purple topped turnips. Next to those are the evergreen bunching onions. Then there's more beets right in here, and then all over there is my ground cherries. I got some rather large grasshoppers in my garden constantly. I'm going to have to also treat with neem oil tonight after I'm done with the watering. Gotta make sure everything... Oh yeah, and that in the corner that's growing quite lovely is my loofah plant. There's another one in the corner of that bed over there, directly across from it. And then we have our peppers, which have gotten quite nice. I even have some ornamental peppers here. Really ornamental peppers are just grown because they're pretty, not really for eating. Because they really don't have much flavor, but they are quite spicy. And I plan on throwing those into a batch of hot sauce that I'm going to make with basically a variety of peppers. So peppers that we're growing, we're gonna get some from a couple of our friends. Just a bunch of all different kinds of peppers, and then I'm gonna ferment them all together and make a big gigantic batch of hot sauce, and then I'll split it between all of us. So we've got Anaheims here, then mini jalapenos, then serranos, and then that there is a bell pepper. These 2 here were bell peppers as well, but they got kind of attacked by the grasshoppers, and so they did not survive. They got stunted and are struggling quite a bit. And then these tomatoes here, which are like taller than me, we didn't think were going to survive. And they did. They pulled through. Those are regular old cherry tomatoes, and I even got one right there. I do have loads and loads of blossoms, which I'm really happy about because, like I said, we didn't really think we'd get anything from these tomato plants. And then these tomatoes here that I'm watering now are big rainbows. So they're basically like a really large slicing tomato. So I'm really excited about those because I even have one right there, which I'm super stoked about. It's the very first one, so maybe I'll get lucky and it'll get, huge. Then I got more sauce tomato plants here, Romas, but they're not doing the best in this location. So they will get changed. Sorry, I had to scratch my nose. They will get changed in placement next year. Which really everything's going to get changed in placement next year, but you know. That one little butternut squash we had growing out of this side, I harvested because it got quite large. So it's actually sitting on the counter right now, and we're going to be eating it for dinner soon. And then I have another spaghetti squash there. And I got a butternut. I actually got quite a few butternuts and squashes in general. I'm trying to pull the hose out. So right in here, if I can get the hose to perch for me, I have, oh, gotta be careful because I do have praying mantises in here. I have quite a large butternut down there. It's pretty darn big. And then right in here, if I can see it, I got a acorn squash. You know, we got some more babies all through here, this area, but I'm not gonna go super digging for them right now. We have a ton of serranos, which I'm not complaining about, but there's a whole bunch in there, and there's a whole bunch over here, and there's a whole bunch over here. They're everywhere. I know they're kind of hard to see because they blend in, but there's a bunch. And my ground cherries, which there's also a bunch of, if you look underneath here. I don't have any, see there's a bunch right here. I don't have any ready yet. They're all up in here, but I've been checking them every single day. So hopefully we will have ground cherries sooner rather than later. And this loofah plant here has actually started producing buds, and there was a big old flower on it yesterday, but it looks like the flower's gone. That is a volunteer tomato that appeared literally out of nowhere overnight. I almost pulled it thinking it was a weed. I'm glad I did not, because it's already producing monster blossoms. So we're hoping it's a big type. This is another Roma plant. It's got a butt ton of tomatoes on it. And these are my cabbages that, you know, they said, hey, don't transplant those because they don't transplant well. Well, I transplanted them and they transplanted just fine. And then I was told, oh, don't grow them during the summer. They won't head. They hate the heat. Well, just for size comparison, this one here is quite large and it's solid. I mean, it is heading quite nicely. So are the red ones. They're a little bit smaller, but that's okay. They're still going to be tasty. This is cucumbers and lemon cucumbers. And those are doing well. I've already harvested quite a few from these. I even have a lemon cucumber right there. That's not quite ripe yet, but you know, yay for it being there. My cucamelons, which are also starting to produce. Let's see if I can find one. Oh, there's a cucumber. It's getting all oddly shaped. There was one on here like yesterday, and of course, now that I want to show you guys, it's not going to freaking appear. But anyway, finally have a watermelon. This is the other side of those cucamelons and cucumbers. Gotta get those good and watered because they all take a lot of water. Our beans, which kind of look raggedy, don't look like they're doing too well. They're actually doing amazing. I've harvested off of these bean plants 3 times now, I think. And yeah, they're still producing. That back there is the carrots I was talking about that I have planted in this bed. This vine here is one of 3 Casper pumpkin vines, and that's what they look like. It's like a ghost white jack-o'-lantern pumpkin, and it is quite large. This red is to hold the pumpkin up so it doesn't snap the vine, but it's starting to run into the trellis. We're gonna have to harvest this soon. And then we have another one over here that's about the size of a softball. More beans under there. This is that one side of cabbages that I already showed you. This is all leeks over here. Cayenne peppers, onions, both yellow and white over here. And then all of our corn, which again is one of those that kind of looks like it's doing kind of rough. But we have ears that are developing, so this is my first time growing corn. I'm not really sure if this is what corn is supposed to look like / do when it grows, but again, not really complaining because I'm getting ears, so let's just hope the earwigs don't eat them all. Corn is another one that needs lots and lots of water. And so do the leeks and the onions. Because, yeah, it's been super dry here. Set that there. I'm gonna let that sit there in water. Got Swiss chard up through here, growing great, hasn't bolted. More cabbages. This one got harvested and eaten. But these are red cabbages and they're quite hard. Those are quite hard. Like all of my cabbages are heading. That's collard greens over there. More Casper pumpkins. We have quite a few on these 2 vines. Yep. And then I got tiger melons growing right there, but they got planted late, so I probably won't get anything from those. And then the very last thing I want to show you is these little beauties. These are called yard-long beans. And yes, this whole part that I'm holding is a bean. And they grow really long, and they are doing amazing under these pumpkins. So I can't wait to eat those. And then last but not least, the chickens. Which is why I saved all those basil flowers I picked, because the chickens love them. Chick, 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 chick. Hello, girls. And then I sprinkle those basil leaves, and they're gonna go nuts for them. Hello, Snowball. Hello, Snowball. She's my cat chicken. She comes up and lets me pet her like a cat. She's so sweet. Cream cheese, leave them chickens alone. But yeah, so that's the garden.